So last night, I was watching the great show, How the States Got Their Shapes. In fact, the host of that show goes on TYT every once in a while. And on the show, they were describing how conservatives in some states literally and knowingly in the past gave away gold and tremendous wealth just to get away from liberals. I'm not kidding. It's a really interesting story. So it happened with Colorado and Nebraska. You had conservatives in Nebraska who were homesteaders, and they hated the people who were basically coming to get rich quick and get the gold in Colorado. So what they did is they gave away a lot of their territory and said, here, take the territory with the gold on it. We will draw a border. Just stay the fuck away from us. We don't like you. So the people who were doing, the work with gold were more typically liberal, and they were more adventurous, and, the conservatives were the homesteaders, and they didn't want to go anywhere, and they didn't like any new people coming around their area. So it's this old school red state, blue state divide. They also said it happened with Washington and Idaho, how more territory was given away because the conservatives were like, I don't care, we don't even fucking want the gold if you guys just promise to stay away from us, and we're going to build a border and say, fuck you, just stay away. So that got me thinking, because as big of a so-called lib as I am, I have some seriously conservative qualities, because when I heard this story as explained on the show, my first reaction wasn't the obvious, which is, a normal person would respond when they hear that. You gave away gold and tremendous wealth just to keep some people away from you? That's fucking insane. That's crazy. That's what a lot of people would say, and they're right to respond like that. But my initial reaction was like, they didn't want to be bothered. Just fuck it, give them the gold and keep them away. So, in a weird way, I actually see where the conservatives were coming from and where the homesteaders were coming from. They felt like, there were these rambunctious people coming in, and they were loud and obnoxious, and they were, causing trouble and riding on their land, and they were, working with gold nearby, and it was loud, and they were just like, enough, here, we're going to draw a border and give you all the gold, but just stay on that side. So I actually understand where the conservatives are coming from, and this gets into, when I really sit down and think about it, I have a lot of conservative qualities, because I did something very similar to what the conservatives did with the gold back then. Like, so I'm a member at a gym that I haven't gone to in a long time, and everybody keeps telling me, like, man, just end the gym membership. And for whatever reason, I guess it was written in the contract, I can't do it over the phone. I have to go in to do it. And I just haven't brought myself to do it. And I'm like, I don't care, man. I'd rather pay them $9 a month and just waste the money than have to be bothered by getting up and going there and fucking telling them to stop it. And so that's a very conservative thing, right? It's the idea that don't change, keep everything the way it is, even if it's not right, even if it's not working, and even if you're wasteful. It's the same idea as, fine, take the gold and just go away. Fine, take gym membership, take the money, but just fucking stay away. Don't bother me anymore, right? So, and it's stupid, but then again, in some ways, I'm stupid. I have this, like, rigid conservative mind, and it's in other areas, too. So I'm going to lay out all my conservative qualities for you. Aren't you lucky to listen to this? I also, for example, hate change. Now, I don't mean change at a government level, because obviously the whole show is built on the idea that we should change the government and change the economy and change the structures of society to work better. Of course, that's a given. I'm talking about in my personal life. Like, I had to move, 2 or 3 times when I was a kid, and I hated it. I was like, look, I don't want to move. Sorry. Like, I don't care. My parents can leave. That's fine. I'll stay here in the house because I like the house. I like having my own little space. You see what I mean? Like, it's this idea that you stick with something, and regardless of the logical consequences of it, you want things to stay the same even if they're not necessarily the best for you. Another thing is I need routine in my life. That's a deeply conservative thing. Because you see liberals are the quickest to be like, fuck it, let's switch this up, let's go there, let's go that way, let's fucking jump out of a plane, let's go skydiving, you go party. And then there's people who are super boring, the conservatives, who are just like, look, man, I just want my 9 to 5, I just want to wake up and go about my business and do that over and over. And I'm even a little special needs too, because if my routine gets broken, I'm like, fuck! Like, I lose it. I can't. I need to be in my routine, and if it gets tweaked in a negative way, I get so angry and I get so off my rocker. Another thing I need is repetition and organization. For a liberal, I'm the most organized motherfucker you know. Now, liberals, look, the stereotype is true. Let's keep it real. Liberals are much more likely to be like a scatterbrain and have stuff all over the place and not keep things in order. All my belongings are like super in order, and I'm a neat freak, and I'm not able to roll with the punches or adapt. Now that's a quality that you actually need to be successful. I don't have it. Now I've been lucky in some weird ways because that's kind of allowed me to be successful in a weird way, in my own way. How, like, I can come out here and basically talk about the same basic issues with different news stories day after day, and I don't get tired of it. But that's part and parcel of not being able to roll with the punches or adapt. It's this idea that I could do the same thing over and over and talk about the same things, but still make it my own and make it somewhat interesting. At least I hope so, and the numbers on YouTube show it is somewhat interesting. And also, I'm very literal. That comes across in any video, right? You could see that whether we're talking about some moronic shit a conservative said or whatever, I'm able to take that and just flat out dissect it based off of what we know the facts to be. And again, the idea of being literal-minded and not like being creative and being able to make connections, loose connections. Like, a liberal's much better at being creative and making loose connections and seeing the other side of this thing that I never thought about it from that way before. I actually have more of a rigid conservative mind in that respect, because if you say something that, like, I'm willing to just shut it down if I think you're even 2% bullshitting or slightly off track in an area where I'm not comfortable. I'm just like, no, you're wrong. Sorry, you're wrong. That's a very conservative quality. And also, just I don't like to travel. I know liberals usually love traveling, right? Like, oh, I can't wait. I'm going to Sweden this summer, and it's going to be so wonderful. Me, when somebody tells me about traveling somewhere, I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to get on this plane, and the plane is going 800 miles an hour in the sky in a metal box where I feel like I'm going to die, and it's unnatural for humans to be up there, and the whole process of traveling for the day takes like a full day, and I get really tired, and then I'm not comfortable when I'm in the hotel room. I'm not in my own bed, and I don't like this. So in that respect, I'm also very conservative. So what's the point of me doing this segment, by the way? I have no idea. I felt like I needed to confess that although clearly politically I'm much more progressive in American politics, and internationally I think I'm a centrist, as I've said time and time again, but I'm progressive in America, and I agree with the liberal ideas that are proposed here. While that's the case, at the same time, I do have this weird contradiction that on a personal level, I'm actually fairly conservative. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a little bit like the crazy Republicans who are super anti-gay, but then they blow dudes. Like, I'm the guy who's like screaming about progressivism and liberal ideas, but then in my own personal life, I'm like a fucking monk. Like, I have the same work schedule every day. I'm stuck on routine. I'm very literal. I don't like change. All those things, conservative qualities.